confused, overwhelmed, stressed. Delve into the truth as we take on this world with eyes wide open. Join Vicki, Elle, Nikki, and Teresa, 4 women, 4 decades, here to discuss issues that affect you. Expect laughter, but we promise to be real and share God's truth as we let the video roll. Hello everyone, we are with Eyes Wide Open. I want to introduce us and kind of tell you a little bit about why we're getting together in a little different format this time. You're going to notice a trend. Here we go.
I'm Teresa.
I'm Nikki.
I'm Jenny.
She's our guest.
Yes, and I'm Vicki.
And I'm Elle.
So we are with Eyes Wide Open, and we have brought Jenny here today because we're in this place where we really feel like we need to get the stories out of women who are just stepping out and making a difference in the world. We speak occasionally, we love doing it, but when we left the last place we spoke at, we knew that we were being called to just take it a little deeper. We want to be in this place where we don't just inspire women, but we kind of set them up for taking it further and stepping into their journey and raising them up. That's what she's done, and so we know the best way to do that is for you to hear stories.
Yeah.
If you hear her story, I think it's going to inspire you in a little way or a great big way to really step out. All right, so tell us your first and last name. I know you're Jenny.
Sure, Jenny Halupnik.
And you work for 180.
I do. I work for 180 as the prevent coordinator. So.
Okay, so first of all, tell everyone what 180 is.
All right. So 180 is a Christian ministry based in the Quad Cities, and we've been around about 10 years. And we really started as a recovery place for people coming out of addictions, homelessness, and incarceration. We have a men's home and a women's home. We have residential facilities. They come stay with us for about a year and really figure out how to let God do a 180 in their life and turn their lives around.
Yeah.
But then about 5 years ago or so, we started realizing that we were working with a lot of people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s who had gone through struggles and had a lot of them, most of the time, had some kind of addiction issues. And we realized that we wanted to work with kids in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, so they didn't have to come back to us in their 30s, 40s, and 50s.
Yeah.
And find a way to help them break the cycle, because a lot of these kids are growing up in homes where there are cycles of poverty, cycles of substance abuse, cycles of homelessness, and we wanted to help these kids break the cycle so they didn't repeat it.
Okay, so I have one question for you before we get too far into this. So we love this mission. We actually know the mission of this organization because we know the founder.
Yeah.
But your place in it, how did you get involved in it? And we use this word stepping into it. We want to inspire all you to sort of step into the nudges that you have or the feelings that you have. How did you know this was your home, so to speak?
Sure. Well, can I take you back to
Yeah.
my story a little bit? Because it's kind of a long story to get there, but I think it'll all come together.
It's all good.
Okay. So, I grew up in a Christian home, and I have wonderful parents who taught me the ways of the Lord and all those things. But I was kind of a rebel in high school and college, I have to admit.
None of us were
I
there.
know, right?
Angels. And, and I just wanted, when I had my own kids, I wanted to do some things to help them and really kind of help them connect with other believers who could sort of walk the journey with them, because I kind of felt like I was isolated a lot of times growing up, and that, we went to a little small church and I didn't really have a youth group, and you know what I mean? So it was kind of hard. So because of that, initially our kids went to a Christian school when we lived in Waterloo, Iowa. Then we moved here to the Quad Cities, and honestly, the Christian school that we wanted to go send them to was completely full. And so God really just sort of placed in my heart and the desire to start a ministry in the public schools where we ended up sending our kids. So this was about 10 years ago, and I had met a friend who just moved to town as well, kind of had the same heart that way. So we kind of started just like praying about it and saying, okay, what's this going to look like, and asking some questions and whatnot. Out of that, which there's a little more story to that as well, but out of that came a ministry called Kids for Christ, and we started when my oldest son was in 4th grade, and we started meeting in the public elementary schools, and just really a gathering place for kids to come before school on a Friday morning and do a little worship, have some fun, laugh, connect with each other, and just be encouraged in God's word to school is a place where you have to live this out. You know what I mean? So let's not box God in Sunday morning, right? Let's let him be part of our everyday experience, and really along with each other, because that's where they have to live that out.
That's right.
And so that got started about 10 years ago.
And my daughter was
Yes.
a part of that. I was one of the
Yeah,
helpers
you were.
when Lydia was there, and it was an amazing ministry.
It was fun
Yeah,
and
it
exciting.
still is.
It
I
still
shouldn't
is,
say
yeah.
was. It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So fast forward about 5 years of doing Kids for Christ,
Okay.
we kind of ran into, well, first of all, I had met Rusty, the founder of 180,
Yeah.
through that because we had made done some service projects and made a few donations to 180 because they worked a lot with feeding kids who were hungry. And that was one of the kind of service project areas we had done. So we had kind of connected with him that way. Then Kids for Christ ran into some issues with just getting the insurance we needed to meet in the public schools.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And so, because of that, I was talking to Rusty one day, and I was like, "Hey, I gotta cancel. You can't come because we don't have the insurance we need, and we're having these issues." He's like, "Oh, well, have you ever thought about being part of 180?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know. What does that look like?" And so, we just kind of
Divine connection.
Exactly, for sure. God's provision for sure. So we just kind of talked through that and looked at what that might look like, and then that following fall, we changed our name to Quest for Christ and became part of 180. And since then, God's really blessed it and used it. We now have Quest for Christ clubs going in 8 different schools in the area.
Public schools.
Public schools,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
exactly, public schools. And this last year, we served about 400 kids with about 100 volunteers in those schools. So it's
So-
exciting.
As I listen to this, because sometimes people hear your story and they think, wow, I mean, it was so easy and everything just fell in place for her to be able to do this, right? I mean, that's
Yeah,
what
right,
the
sure,
story is.
sure, right.
Yeah.
So what were some of your struggles and how did you overcome them?
Well, there were a lot of struggles, and there still are. I'll tell you. Okay, so the first biggest hurdle I would say we faced was just getting permission to meet in school, and because I can understand why they're a little weary.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And what's this look like? And who are you people? And are you crazy? And you know what I mean? So they were not real excited about it. I'll be honest with you when we first met. But it was so cool to watch how God worked it out because, so we went to our principal who at the school we were wanting to meet at and who actually was a Christian was, hey, this sounds great. I'd love to see this happen. Of course, I have to forward this on to higher level and get permission. So when we got up to the next level of getting permission, we did hit some roadblocks and were basically told honestly that it was against school policy for a Christian group like this to meet in school. Well, we gently pushed back on that and said,
Although we're
it was very gently. It was very gently.
Respectfully.
Absolutely, because we weren't there to make any enemies.
Right,
We wanted to
right.
be partners with them. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So we asked the superintendent to consider the policies that they had in place, and they had actually said they were going to do that over the summer, and to consider some of the legal ramifications of how they were handling it, because there were some court cases that helped kind of define what that should look like. And so over the course of the summer, I didn't hear a word, honestly. We just kind of went home and were like, well, I guess we just kind of wait and pray now, you know what I mean? And kind of felt like God had led us here and then shut the door. We're like, well, I don't know what's happening. Then in August, got a phone call and was told that this was coming before the school board for the change to consider the policy. I went to the school board meeting and literally the superintendent got up and said, we have to change our policy. We want this group to meet in our building. This is how it should look.
That's what God does.
It was amazing. It really, I was floored by it because we didn't lift a finger. God did it all. Absolutely all of it. So that's an example of a big one.
Right.
Another example of a small hurdle we faced was when we very first started, we're like, okay, I think it's going to be my kids and my friends' kids and maybe 3 other kids. You know what I mean? Like, who's going to show up? I have no idea, right? So we made up these little postcards and we handed them out to our kids to give to some friends and stuff. Well, then we kind of got in a little bit of trouble because they don't want you handing things out at school because then people feel excluded, blah, blah, blah. So my idea going into it was, we're going to just invite the people we know and it'll be this little small thing. No. The school said, why don't you come at lunch and invite every single kid who comes to the lunch period? And so I was like, oh, okay, I guess we could do that. You know what I mean?
How many were there?
Yeah, so the very first day we met, the very first club, we had 32 kids come.
That's
And
great.
guess how many seats we had in the room?
32.
32. Of course, we had 32 chairs and 32 kids show up. Yes, exactly. So it was just really being able to see God's hand on it and know that, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but it's okay because God's got this. You know what I'm saying?
That's good. And people
that's
out
the
there trying to step in, you don't have to necessarily know, but follow your nudge and you'll get redirected. And you say doors open and then they shut.
Those doors flew open though.
Yeah.
Right? That's just
They
wow.
did.
Yeah.
Let me tell you too, the other thing that was cool is that, so we started out this one little elementary school out in the country, pretty small group of kids. But I was with a group weekly of moms who pray. It's called Moms in Prayer.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have heard of that.
Yeah, my children's book came out of the one in my neighborhood.
Okay,
Yours,
right?
Yeah.
So we would get together every week and pray, and God used that ministry to really quicken the heart of other women
Yes.
to take the idea of Kids for Christ and
Yes.
to
other
take it to
schools.
other schools. Yeah, and so it was just a really cool way that God pulled all
Yes.
these different pieces together.
Mhm.
And then it very quickly jumped to
Yeah.
4 or 5 different schools,
Mhm.
and then being part of 180 as Quest for Christ has gone even further.
You
So-
are almost just capturing it all in why we're doing this.
Mhm.
We want this community of women
Mhm.
doing this for each other, helping each other, raise each other up. We know that as there's synergy and there's connections, and when we put these people together, we know it's so big, and we're like on the edge of it, and we
Right.
can't
Yeah.
wait.
Right.
Well,
And
that's
now you
so-
can be part of it with
Oh,
us.
that's awesome. Thank you for inviting me. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, and I think it's so wonderful, Jenny, that you had somebody walking alongside you. You said that there's another mom that you did it with, because doing it alone would have been.
I never would have done it if she hadn't
Yeah.
been there. I tell you
Yeah.
what, she's still one of my
Shout
closest
out.
friends to this
Yeah.
day. Laura Farmeister, you know
All
who you
right,
are.
Laura.
So one of the things is just keep going, even the struggles.
Mhm.
God will see through. Get somebody to be a prayer partner or prayer partners. Have someone come alongside you
Yeah.
and walk
Yeah.
with you. What
So
what
I
else
needed,
did you say?
I needed the prayer support of the women who
Right.
really cared and were coming together once a week. But I needed that one person that I
Yeah.
could call
Yeah.
daily.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
seriously, like
Yeah.
was in it with me
Right.
daily,
Yeah.
and that she wasn't gonna get annoyed with me. That I kept calling and wanted to talk through
Yeah.
this thing again that we already talked about last week. You know what I mean? Like, but needed somebody to really kind of be willing to hash it out day to day. You know what I mean?
It's
And then
so
I think
good.
also just the support of family at home, like my
Yes.
husband, and you know what I mean, like
Mhm.
because this was kind of, I mean, honestly, it was consuming. It was a little bit consuming. It still is to some days, but I also never wanted. I mean, honestly, if you guys have seen me, at 25, I was so shy about my faith, I guess. You know what I mean? Like I was never wanting to be the poster child for Christians in the schools. You know what I mean? And I kind of I feel like God kind of thrust me into that
Yeah.
position a little
Yeah.
bit against my desire, which is okay. I know that's how it
I'm
works.
glad people are hearing that.
But you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I did not. This was not me. This was not me going, oh, I want to be the one. Everybody. But you kind of get put in that position, and then suddenly people come and talk to you about things that are about their faith that you feel very ill-equipped to answer. You know what I mean? You're like,
Right.
Yes, I do know.
okay. And so I think it takes. I mean, I guess my point is for my husband to be willing to go down that path with me
Yes.
and to encourage me and to give me the freedom to invest in this as a ministry, because it took a lot of time from me doing other things that I could have been doing at home or earning income or whatever. And so
Good
support
point.
was a big.
Shout out for the husband.
That's right.
That's right.
Go, Mark.
What's his
Yeah.
name?
For
Mark.
for all of our husbands.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right,
Shout
right,
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the future looking like in this program? What
Well,
are
you
you
know-
envisioning?
Our goal is to really just bring the hope and love of Christ to kids as they go through the daily grind, I guess, of public
Right,
school, right?
yeah,
And it is a grind sometimes.
is.
You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's awesome and sometimes it's a grind.
You have some educators here at the table.
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Right. It's a grind for the kids and the teachers sometimes.
Yeah.
So I mean, but we have wonderful schools in this area, and they have been very helpful and cooperative to work with us. So some of the things that are going on now. Right now, we started Quest for Christ in kind of a middle to upper class neighborhoods, and now we're bringing it over into some lower income neighborhoods.
Love that.
And into some lower income schools, and that's been a real challenge as
Yeah.
well, because the kids have different attention spans, different abilities, and just a different kind of background. I would say roughly half of the kids we serve, even in the upper middle class neighborhoods, have no church background at all, and so
Yeah.
it really is an
Right.
outreach
Right.
ministry. But then taking it into some of these more challenging environments has really caused us to step up our game.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And figure out how to reach kids with the message of Christ and with His love in a way that connects to them, even though there are these other challenges that exist. And so some of our next things is really developing a core team at each of these schools that's solid and willing to come back year after year, because it can be exhausting. You know what I mean? And we meet in the middle of the day. We meet right after school, so it's usually 2:30, 3 o'clock in the day, which means not everybody's available to come and be a
Right.
part of a ministry opportunity in the middle
Yeah.
of the day like that. So finding those core team members who are committed to a specific school year after year after year is going to be a huge part of it.
You know, this is going to be on YouTube.
Oh, awesome.
And potentially on the news.
Yeah,
and
right.
like these teams, I mean, right now, somebody listening, if
Right.
they feel the call and the nudge, as we say, you might not even really get what that is when we say the call, but I mean, if you just feel these nudges to go help out, I mean, I'm sure that there's volunteer forms and
Absolutely.
things.
Yep. We can plug people in and get them connected with a team and what that looks like. So the other thing that's kind of in terms of the future is we are working really closely with Davenport schools on a number of different initiatives. So we do in-school food pantries with them, we do after-school athletics with them, we do Quest for Christ after school with them. So our goal is to have multiple touch points with these kids throughout the week, not just a one-time thing, right?
And haven't you been helping them with like the needs that they have, like
Yes,
food?
we do. We meet nutritional needs. We also provide beds and furniture. We help kids get rid of chronic lice issues that really take away from their ability to focus on school. So those are the kinds of things that we're doing now. And in terms of the future, like right now, I'm getting 50 kids registered for an awesome Christian camp for the summer that is for at-risk kids. And so we're drawing these kids who come to Quest or who come to some of our other things that we're doing into this to have an amazing, almost like vacation-like experience for themselves over the summer. But you know, obviously, we know that it's expanding their experiences in a positive way, connecting with mentors in a positive way, and also building that faith foundation that we're all about.
So that reminds me of a question I have for you. So with the kids, they've been on my mind this whole time. Any stories of a transformation that just stands out, or a family that's been pulled in? Anything that you can share?
You know, there have been some great stories along the way. One that comes to mind is my friend Shelly. And she never grew up in the church at all. She's a mom like us, and never had any faith background at all. Her son was invited to Quest for Christ one of the early years we had it by a friend, and he came. And because he came and started listening, and then she had a neighbor who was also kind of, you know, ministering to her and just kind of encouraging her. And over the course of about a 2-year period of time, son came to Christ, mom came to Christ, really, and now she's involved as one of our key volunteers and part of our team. You know what I mean? And she would say, Quest for Christ was a huge part of me coming to know the Lord. And so those are the kinds of things that are like, thank you, God, even if it's just one. You know what I mean? Even if it's just one, it's worth it, right? So but over the course of even just this year, we've had several kids who proclaimed faith in Christ for the first time this year. You know, and sometimes, you know, some of the experiences that I've had that are just kind of maybe not life transforming, but moment transforming are, we had this little girl come to Quest for Christ one day last year, and she was really angry. She was mad. She was kind of throwing things and kind of just, you know, and I said, I happened to be there that day. It wasn't my usual club that I go to, but I just happened to be there, and I said, what's going on? What's up? And so anyways, she came aside and hung out with me for the afternoon instead of going into regular club. And the story she told me was that she was upset because teacher had taken away her recess the next day for something she felt like was unjust and was not something she had done. So she was really angry. So, but the cool thing was, because we were there after school, I was like, oh man, can you think of anybody in the Bible who was treated unjustly? You know what I mean? And she's like, well, I guess Jesus was. You know what I mean? And then we talked about what Jesus' response to that was. You know what I mean? Like, did he throw things, and did he punch things, and how he responded? And no, of course, he said, forgive them. You know what I mean? I forgive them because they don't know what they're doing. And so we just talked about the way to like handle those kind of injustices. Those, you know, a minor daily injustice, but those are real to a kid, right? And how the Bible speaks into that, and how the experience of Christ speaks into that, and how he can walk with her through that. And so those are the kinds of things that I love and I get excited about, like helping a kid connect her experience to what Jesus went through and develop a little deeper connection.
Make the word alive. The word is alive. It was pertinent to her situation. I love that.
It was exciting. So
We always like to kind of wrap these up with you sort of giving the listeners maybe one really thing that just is so important to you. Some topic, some tip, whatever.
Okay. You know, I would say, I was thinking about that on the way over here. My overriding thing is that, you know, God doesn't promise us results, and He doesn't promise us a certain outcome. And honestly, I probably went into this with my own agenda. You know what I mean? Like, I thought, oh, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. We've heard this before. And you know what? It hasn't all happened. But what God does promise us is that if He wants us to be faithful to what He's asked. You know what I mean? And He's going to work through that because He is faithful, right? And so I look back now and I think, I kind of feel like it didn't turn out exactly how I had pictured, but in a lot of ways it turned out so much bigger and better. And in some ways I'm still watching it unfold, right? And God's still working with it. And so I just feel like it's our call is to just be faithful one step at a time, and to follow the one little thing that God's asked us to do today. You know what I mean? And then He's not going to lay it all out clear. We're not going to be able to see 5 years in the future, but that's okay. If we follow one step today, He'll show us the next step tomorrow.
That's right.
Beautiful.
That's right.
So.
Because He doesn't show the next step until we take that first step. Right. Then we take that next step.
Exactly.
So,
All right.
Well,
Thank
so
you.
Thank you. It's fun to talk to you guys. Appreciate it.
It was so nice to just finally meet the woman.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
So you all don't know, but when we tried to set up this interview, she was like, me? Like, why do you want to, what? But we just really want to encourage you listening out there, whatever you feel nudged about, really just step into it, reach out, call on a friend, message us at the bottom of this video, this YouTube video, put a comment and we'll get back to you. We want to inspire your growth on your journey that we know God has you called to. All right, we'll talk to you next time.
So what is what is
Oh,
our scripture?
we might need to clip all that out.
Yeah, really.
For the Message Bible.
Yes,
Colossians 4:2.
Pray diligently, stay alert with your eyes wide open in gratitude. You don't know this.
We
Step into truth and light